Hey guys, Augee from TNVC. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about the Wilcox G24 Dovetail NVG helmet mount. So the G24 is not a new product. It's a product that has been around for quite a long time. It's the US SOCOM standard NVG mount. So for any of your US SOCOM BNVD, PVS-31 alphas, PVS-15s, GPNVGs, 9 times out of 10, the mount that you're going to see being used is going to be the G24 or some variation of the G24. The G24 is generally considered to be the gold standard in dovetail helmet mounts. It's obviously got this dovetail shoe that's adjustable for eye relief, that interfaces with dovetail mounts on most goggle systems, and they're dovetail adapters for PVS-14s and that kind of thing, and other devices. It is, if you're familiar with the standard USGI Rhino mounts, there are some definite differences between the G24 besides the dovetail interface and the USGI Rhino. So to start off with, the G24 and its derivatives are what are referred to as push-button mounts. So unlike the USGI Rhino or Rhino 2, where they're what's called forced-to-overcome mounts, and you just push them up against the detent and they click up, the G24 is a lot more rigid, and it's got this push button here, and you can see you depress that push button, and that allows you to rotate the arm up and down. It's also adjustable for tilt and adjustable for elevation using this little flap up here, and again, eye relief. And this front button here is to release the goggle from the mount. Again, unlike the USGI Rhino mount, the locking tab on the G24 is not spring-loaded. So again, if you're familiar with the USGI Rhino or Rhino 2, you kind of just slot them in there and you push down until it clicks closed. The G24 instead uses a sliding locking bar, so that as you lock the tab side to side, the locking tab pops out. So another feature of the G24 is the breakaway function. So the breakaway function is useful, to prevent any kind of neck injury or even damage to the goggles potentially, because under a certain amount of force, the mount itself will pop out of the shroud on the helmet. So rather than breaking the goggle or breaking your neck, it'll simply detach. This is a good reason to have some sort of lanyard or some sort of tether on your goggle, or if you're using something like the modular bungee shroud from OpsCore on your Fast SF or FTHS helmet. It's useful to have those connected in case it breaks away. Obviously, that's for extreme situations, getting them caught in parachute risers or taking a bad spill from heights or something like that. But as a guy who has come down hard off of a fast rope and probably had been saved from a pretty bad pain in the neck by the breakaway function of the G24, it is a function that I certainly think is very good to have. Now here I have got an older G24. Just by virtue of what I do, I have a lot of mounts. I have a lot of helmets. I probably have enough G24 mounts total to buy another set of NVGs. But one of the cool things is that starting late last year, Wilcox actually slightly changed the G24. So the previous G24, had a pretty good amount. So this is the older version, had a pretty good amount of eye relief adjustment. However, there is another model of the G24 that doesn't have the breakaway function that was known as the G22 or the G22E. And the E there stood for extended travel. Since about the latter half of last year, Wilcox has started instituting the extended travel arm So you can see that that it's about a little bit more than a ½ inch difference in eye relief between the older version of the G24 and the newer version of the G24. So all G24s produced after 2020 now come standard with the extended travel arm. So it used to be, you had to pick or choose. Like I said, I like the breakaway function. I think it's a very good function to have, even if you use it very rarely. But you had to either choose, do I want the extended travel arm or do I want to have the breakaway function? Now, with the extended travel arm being instituted on the G24, you no longer have to make that decision. So, of course, the question that you might ask is, why do I want extended travel on my helmet mount? A lot of guys, when you look at the way that they have their goggles set up, they have their goggles set up pretty far to the rear. There are a couple of disadvantages to that. On the one hand, yes, it gives you a slightly larger view because the ocular lenses are closer to your eyes, but it also will restrict airflow. If you're a guy like me that wears eyeglasses and has since the 2nd grade, this may be too close. Your eyeglasses may actually be touching the goggles. So you want to have a little bit more eye relief. And generally speaking, we recommend that people run their goggles out as far forward as they're comfortable with. Now, that being said, all of that can be accomplished using the standard G24. What the extended travel arm is designed for is really for things like environmental protective masks, so like gas masks, SCBA systems, or something like this OpsCore step-in visor, where you may need to have a little bit more standoff so that you're not making contact with your goggles to whatever the lens is. So, again, for guys in the military, for law enforcement folks that are working with CS or working with smoke or something like that and want to have some sort of protective mask, it's that extended travel can be extremely useful. And in a lot of our night fighter classes, we will have gas mask components where where you learn to shoot and where you practice shooting with some sort of protective mask. So because of this, in the past, when we had customers that might have a greater need for using some sort of protective mask, some sort of visor, or some sort of goggles, we would always recommend getting the G22 because you may not need that extra eye relief, but you may need that extra eye relief, and even if it's just about 5/8 of an inch more travel, it can still be worthwhile, and it can still make all of the difference between being able to get a good image through your goggles while wearing your mask and having your goggles not fully deploy in the correct position and having a lot of trouble looking through them. Now, with the extended travel arm being instituted across the board on the G24, there's no longer any kind of decision to make. All of them have it. Again, most people in most situations probably aren't going to need that full range of extended travel, but now it's an option that you have that comes standard on the G24. So obviously, the G24, like I said, has been manufactured for quite some time. This extended travel arm is an inline production change that wasn't instituted until the latter half of 2020. So there are still a lot of the old G24s with the shorter eye relief arm floating around out there. So if you're buying used, if you're buying from a retailer that's got a lot of old stock or something like that, you may still come across the shorter arm on the the shorter arm G24. Again, there's nothing really wrong with the shorter arm, but it's nice to have that extra adjustability come standard on the mount. So if you do want to guarantee that you're getting the extended travel arm, all factory new Wilcox G24s manufactured after 2020 will have the extended travel arm. So if you want to make sure that you have that extended travel arm, that's how you can tell. Obviously, all of the G24s that we currently have in stock and available at TNVC are going to be this new extended travel arm from here on out. Thank you.